What is happening, fellow fantasy GMs? I'm JJ Wang, the bearded one DJ Dub, and with our powers combined, we are the Fantasy Couriers.
What's up, JJ Wang? Welcome everybody out tonight for us as we're recording this. We want to welcome you to the Fantasy Couriers. It's our first official podcast. We've been having a little fun with this, doing it for our local leads. Now we thought we would share out with some of the world and see what you all thought of our crazy ideas and crazy thoughts. There's nothing official about us. It's just our brains spewing all over this podcast here, sharing what we think. And it might be totally bogus. We might be totally wrong, but we're going to have fun while we do it. And we hope you enjoy as well. We thought we'd take this first show and sort of tell you who we are and then go talk a little bit about some of the players that we like that might not be consensus favorites, and then give our favorite player of all time. First off, we're going to talk about our connection, where we come from. We are from a place called the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia. We grew up together, went to school together for many years, separated once we got to college. JJ Wang there went off into the military. I was off becoming a teacher. And then years later, we came back together through our love for fantasy. And we've been talking smack and talking ideas for ever since that's happened a couple of years back. So JJ Wang here. How long have you, when did you get into fantasy officially?
So I started in probably 2006. It was a work league. Actually, my very first pick I ever made was Sean Alexander after he had that huge year and proceeded to be injured. So that was a great way to introduce myself into fantasy. Pretty much redraft guy the whole time until 3 years ago when we started our original Trust the Process League. That's when I first started Dynasty. And ever since then, that's all I really wanted to play.
Oh, wow.
Pretty much my only.
Funny story, Sean Alexander. I in the league that I started fantasy back in '99, there were six of us in a little bitty house, in a little bitty apartment building. We were called the Front Royal Independent League. That league has been going on since I got a buddy who I've been in. Front Royal, yeah, Front Vegas. I have a buddy I've been in leagues with ever since that year. We've always been in leagues together, and that has turned into the auction league that we do together. But funny story about the Friendle is one year I drafted these two guys. One guy was named Sean Alexander. One guy was named Priest Holmes. Neither of them started off too well. So I dropped Priest Holmes, and then he exploded. It was that Chiefs year. And my buddy, who I've been in leagues with for years, had Priest Holmes the rest of his career. And we did keepers. And then I dropped Sean Alexander, and my brother, I think, ended up with him, and he just blew up. I was like, oh, come on, man. Just bad luck. Bad luck. You live, you learn over the years. But I've been doing it ever since then. I started Dynasty. I think we figured out it was, when was Peterson's rookie year? Was that 10?
Was it 10? Might have been. Yeah, around that time.
So ever since Adrian Peterson's rookie year, we'll talk about that in a moment. But I've been doing Dynasty since then. That was my first one. It's the Greater North American Dynasty Society is the name of that league. He was drafted in 2007. So it had been 2007. Well, we're off. Don't watch our show anymore. We know nothing. Absolutely nothing.
We're not fat guys.
Beep, we're done. Okay. But no, that was my first year. And I'll talk more about that a little bit later. But I've been doing that one for years. And I jumped into another league called the Bourbon Bowl. And that's a big league that I got you into a couple years ago. And I jumped into your league, and then we started one this year. And then this year I also took on an orphan team. So I now have 5 dynasty teams. It's so much more fun than the redraft. So you'll notice a lot of our talk here will be about where guys are now, but there will be a lot of dynasty focus because that's where our hearts are, right?
Absolutely. I'm in a couple redraft leagues, that I'll always be in, but I'm definitely not in the mode of adding redraft leagues. Definitely in the mode of adding dynasty leagues.
So how many teams do you have?
Well, if you combine the dynasty and the redraft leagues, it is 11. 6 dynasty leagues, 5 redrafts. Probably say that's gonna be my limit until next year. I'll probably add 2 more. It's just how it goes. Nothing I can do about it.
I'm rocking the 8 this year. 5 dynasty, 3 redrafts. One's a charity league we do. And then I do an auction league with you, and then the other one is a league I just keep doing because my keepers are Mahomes and Kamara, so I just can't get rid of them, and I still have them for another 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah, you might as well stay on until you get
I've only gotten one championship out of it. It's painful. So, but yeah. So as you hear, we spend too much time watching fantasy football, playing fantasy football, watching football, and listening to football podcasts. So we thought we'd sit here, chat it up, talk some on our own, and this could be total gibberish. This could be us talking to ourselves. This could be us talking to our friends. But hey, I hope you enjoy what you hear. But today, what we want to do is we're going to each share one person from each position outside of the top 10 that we think is going to have a good year this year. So it will be more redraft 2021 focus, but a guy we think is going to step up, or in some of the cases, be consistently what they were. We like them more above the norm than others might like them. They're not really guys we're ready to plant our flag with, but guys that we think are going to be good.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to getting into it. So I'll start with the guy that we're probably torn between the most. I think it's more negative than positive at this point, but I still like the guy. It's Sam Darnold. New team, new offensive coordinator, and Joe Brady, definitely a quarterback friendly system. More weapons than he's ever had. He's got Christian McCaffrey. That's 100 free receptions right there. I mean, best way to start. We got DJ Moore. Still knows Robbie Anderson. You got Terrence Marshall. I think it's a great new spot for him to land. I think he's definitely got a chance. I mean, I consider him better than Teddy Bridgewater. So if Teddy Bridgewater can be successful, why not Sam Darnold?
I throw up a little bit in my mouth. Everything you're saying there is partially true. He did get rid of his biggest flaw that he had the last couple of years. That would be old number 2, Mr. Gase. Yes, we've seen the destruction he does to teams, players, and the world not named Peyton Manning that 1 year.
1 year.
But he does. I'll give him. He has more weapons.
He does have more.
I talk smack every year. This guy's garbage. I didn't like him coming out of college. I didn't like him because he's a Jet. I didn't like him because he was bad on the Jets. He didn't do anything there. I think he's overrated. He's young. He's got weapons. This is the year that either people are going to just chop me down big time because I have been talking smack for years, or I'm going to be singing, dancing, and telling everybody how right I was.
Well, so they did pick up his. I do believe they picked up his 5th-year option, so he does got 2 more years. So he's got 2 years to plant his flag right there in Carolina. If he can't do it, he can't do it. It's not. They didn't really give up a whole lot to get him as far as fantasy goes.
I gave up too much.
I think there's potential there.
We'll see. My guy, my first one is the homer pick. If you don't know, you'll see. I'm a Dolphins fan. JJ Wang there. He used to be a Cowboys fan until they weren't good anymore. Now he says he's a fantasy fan. So you know how it works. He'll be a Cowboys fan in a couple of years when they're good again. We'll see how it works. But it's not so much Dolphins. I have been ebbing and flowing with him, but it's Tua Tagovailoa, as my son will go. Tua he had a consistently rough, consistent year last year. He's coming off the hip injury last year. All he did in the offseason was focus on that hip. He had no offseason to start his rookie year, but the argument is neither did Herbert. But Herbert also didn't have a possible career-ending hip injury he had to rehab. You look up the drops. I was looking up 12 drops by his receivers that equal to about 25 points for the team. So imagine the stats that would have accumulated through those. This year, his weapons, he's not throwing to Jakeem, he's not throwing to Grant. He's not throwing to Preston Williams on one leg. He's not throwing to Devontae Parker, who I believe is vastly overrated. He's throwing to Will Fuller after game 1. He's throwing to Waddle. He's got Preston Williams, who we both love. Devontae Parker is the 4, if not the 5. Gesicki's a much better. Gaskin, we're both Gaskin guys. We like he's a good, solid running back. He's not gonna win you a league, but he's gonna carry you through. Tua's got this year in the system. He is gunning it. Everybody was all, oh no, he threw 5 interceptions day 1. Yes, that's because the drill on day 1 was to throw it into holes where you can't throw balls. So, of course, you're going to throw interceptions when you're throwing places the ball's not supposed to go. But he's 1 year healed. He looks like a man this year. He is jacked. He's been in the weight room. He's ready to go. I think Tua's going to take that step that many don't. So get him now while you can.
Yeah, I mean, if you were going to get him, now is going to be it. I mean, his price isn't going to go down at this point. It's going to go straight up. I like Tua. I mean, it's more of a mid-range quarterback for me. I guess he does have that potential. Like I say, still young. I'm not high on their weapons. I mean, they do got Will Fuller. He's worked really well with Deshaun Watson. They played well together. Big, deep threat guy. Waddle, we don't know. I like Waddle. Be that good underneath guy. I think he's that's Devonta Smith. Remember
Both of them
the
big
big
hands.
hands. But yeah. So I mean, he's got options. Like I said, I think he's more of the mid range guy with a little bit of potential. Got no issues there. Good pick.
So I'll throw out the first running back I have here. He's a forgotten guy, but ironically, most people don't even notice that if you look at senior seasons comparing Miles Sanders to Saquon Barkley, Miles Sanders actually had a statistically better senior year in college. Now, is Miles Sanders Saquon Barkley? No. Miles Sanders would be eaten by Saquon Barkley for dinner because he's a giant man. But Miles Sanders is a solid football player. I mean, you got to remember there are football players that aren't as big as others. Miles Sanders is in a great situation where they're going to run. I think Hurts is going to run more than he did last year. I could see it being similar to the Baltimore situation. I don't think Hurts is as fast or power as big really as you're looking at Lamar. But if they're going to run like that, Miles he had a good uptick once Hurts came in with some of those running plays he got after Hurts was when you got that guy's going to do dump offs as he's trying to do there. I wouldn't be surprised if they threw in the option. Miles is a solid back. Everyone's worried about them bringing in. They have like 4 running backs behind them that are great running back sevens, and they got Gainwell to be the pass catching running back. He didn't play football last year. Dude's been out for 2 years. He had one good season. He did share the field with Gibson in college, but Miles Sanders is a beast. His breakaway runs last year were sick. He would be sitting there like he did kill us a couple times, but then he would be sitting there like dun dun dun, and boom, breakaway 70-yard touchdown run. They are disgusting to watch. He's got power. He's on an offense that there's not a lot of weapons, so he's got the opportunity, and I think he steps up this year. Just like with Tua, I don't think any of these are going to be top 4 or 5 guys, but they're going to be solid. I think they could both land. He could land within the top 10 easily, especially with 1 year under his belt of Hurts with the system moving forward.
Yeah, I don't. I've got no complaints there. I'm not a huge Miles Sanders guy. He's definitely going to get the opportunity. Um, they do seem to like Boston Scott a lot. He seems to get a lot of run in that offense. And he is effective when he comes in. So you throw in Gainwell, so now there's another back. That's 3. Um, bring in Devonta Smith, so that's another option there. Hopefully, Rager takes that next step, so that's another option. So yeah, Philadelphia was bad last year. Sanders did okay with very limited options as far as offensive power goes. So you bring in all those options again with Hurts hopefully taking that next step. Uh, there might not be as much play there for Miles Sanders as one might think, but I mean, like he's definitely going to get all the opportunity. Not sure about the pass catching. That could go a different way. Like I said, we'll see. Like you said, you're not. I don't think you're drafting him to be that top 12 guy. I mean, I think you're drafting him to be that solid RB2 with potential to have top 12 games. That's how I would take Miles Sanders. So I'll jump into the running back that I choose, player that's near dear to my heart. I was in early on him last year. Heard a few people talk to him. His name stuck in my head. The undrafted free agent James Robinson. Great year last year. I think he finished as the wide receiver 7, I believe. He did miss the last 2 games.
Even the
Crazy
running back
work.
7.
Yeah. Crazy workload. I think it was 240 carries, 50 catches roughly. This year, I don't think the catches are going to be there since they drafted ATN. Still think the carries are going to be there. 200, maybe 200 carries, 35 catches. So you get 800 total yards, 7, 8 touchdowns. I mean, I think he could definitely be like that low end RB2 that or flex that you could plug in there every week.
Um, you got nothing argues from me. You were right on it. 49 receptions, 1070 on his rushing total, 344. I don't think a lot of people are saying that I agree with you on the ETN thing. I think it even less than you. I look at what what could happen there with the way they're built. Remember those Saints teams. Ingram got his, Kamara got his, and they were both two different kinds of players. I love ETN. I'm waiting a little bit on him because there's more and more just good stuff coming out about Robinson in the draft day. I threw up a little bit in my mouth because I'm a James Robinson dynasty owner in one league as well. And but I agree with you on everything there. You're not going to get any arguments from me. Like he's not going to get 49 receptions, but I mean, he could still pull in 30.
Oh, absolutely. I think
Just
the
by
30
being
is
there.
definitely because he's still going to be on the field
Yeah.
a lot. Him and Etienne, I think, are going to be on the field the whole together a lot. But their wide receivers, you got Chark, Chenault, and what was the Detroit guy,
Jones.
Jones. They don't use a tight end,
Yes, they
so
do. Yes,
you,
they do. Wait till you see.
well, they might
TiVo.
use one, but
Twice
I
every
mean,
other week.
you can just put all those guys on the field at the same time, and plenty of balls to go around, especially with Trevor Lawrence tossing it around. Can't lose.
Okay. We're in agreement there. I don't think there's too much agreement either on our receivers. Who you got? Throw him out.
My receiver is second year guy out from San Francisco, Brandon Ayuk. I think he had almost 100 targets last year. There's a lot of San Francisco was dealing with a lot of injuries, so that might have something to do with it. But he's that number one guy. He's definitely the one on that team. Not too scared of Debo. Debo might get eight to 10 touches a game, receiving and running, and then once Kittle comes back fully healthy, he's going to get his workload. But to be completely honest, I'm confident enough that Brandon Ayuk will be the number one receiving option on that team, including Kittle. I mean, I jump up to 125 targets. I think that'd be very easily accomplished with quarterbacks that they had last year. Transfer that to Garoppolo and Lance. I think there's a great breakout season coming along for him.
I like Ayuk. I'm not as high on as him as you are. I'm a Debo kind of guy. I still see Ayuk and Debo. I think they could. It depends on the game plan each week. I mean, we know Kittle's the one. I think Kittle's the one, 100%. Kittle's the first guy they're going to throw to. Kittle's the second guy they're going to throw to, and probably the third guy. And then we'll see who's the fourth guy that they decide to throw to. There's a rookie quarterback possibly. Who's a rookie quarterback's best friend? A good established tight end. Ayuk's a great player. Ayuk could easily be better than Debo on statistically, so he could end up being the better fantasy, which is what we're talking about. But I don't see it being that much of a difference because Debo, if Debo's healthy, there's the key again. Ayuk could slide down a little bit because that's when he excelled last year too. Debo was he was in rough shape last year. I remember when I
Rough
heard about
shape.
the I was running up a mountain in Tennessee when I heard about the Debo injury, and I was just like, oh, there goes my dynasty receiver. And
Seems to be the story of his career so far, so we'll see how
yeah,
that goes.
so I like Ayuk not as high as you are, but I think he will. I think he'll be solid because that team's going to be good. Whether it's
Good.
they're going to be if Jimmy G stays all year, they're going to be really good. Like
Really
that
good.
means Jimmy G is playing Peyton Manning ball. If Trey Lance comes in, they're going to be good. They'll be competitive, and who knows? Like I love Lance, but I think I'm too much. I like him too much because he hasn't shown it. That go back to my
Yeah,
season.
but I'm just high on everybody on that offense. I think that
Yeah,
offense. I like Kyle Shanahan. I think Kyle Shanahan's one of the top three coaches, all offensive coaches
yeah.
in the league. I mean, it's whatever offense he touches, it's gold. So, I mean,
Uh,
I just can't go wrong with it.
yeah. So my guy, he's a guy that I've been squeaking through and arguing for in other leagues is Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton with the shredded knees last year, just ugh. He got a whopping 3 receptions last year, but he had a heck of an average 22 yards per reception, 3 for 66. You look at it, but if you look at him in that garbage, who's his quarterback been? Garbage, 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 and then more garbage.
Garbage.
He had 124 targets, 72 receptions, 1,112 yards 2 years ago. The dude is a monster. He is a giant of a man, 6'4, 216. He is in an offense where he will not be double teamed. he will not be double teamed because there's two good receivers. And they got Noah Fant. They have Williams. So they're not going to be able to. 2 years ago, you could have argued, Sutton's gonna get double, triple teamed. You also look at the AFC West; their defenses are pretty much poop. So Denver has the best defense in the AFC West. So he's gonna get some openings. Whether it's hopefully it's Teddy, he's a little better than Locke. I mean, maybe if my dream comes true, the quarterback is Deshaun Watson. But regardless, Cortland Sutton is a guy in that he is a leader on this team. And that's a lot to be said about a receiver who's really only played 2 years and 1 year was rehabbing himself. So a third year receiver who is seen as a leader on the team sounds like a guy they are going to feed. They're going to feed, and he is going to get back to where he was 2 years ago, if not higher. I could see him equaling his 2019 easily with the garbage quarterback. That'd be, 75 receptions, 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns, easy.
Well, the good thing about that ACL injury, if there was a good thing about an ACL injury, that it happened in the first game of the season. So he's
It was
had
nasty.
it was. So he's going to have the full year to recover. Some people come back a little slower than others. Here recently with modern science and medicine, that people just come back after 6 months. It seems like, and they've never missed a step. But like I said, I'll kind of wait for judgment until I see where he's at regarding how good he will have. Because if he doesn't start out strong, um, matching that rookie season is going to be really tough. Um, I think probably by mid-season he'll be back in full stride. Open up that offense a little bit. But then you still got Jerry Judy on the other side. That's going to help him out too. Hopefully Jerry Judy can take that next step. But it's going to be hard for either one of them to take that next step until they figure out their quarterback situation. Hopefully Locke can figure it out. I'm rooting for Locke. I really am. Try.
This is turned into a comedy show. Okay, now we'll wrap it up here with tight ends. Not much to say really on my tight end. Tight ends are basically what, three, four guys, then a bunch of garbage.
Yeah,
And
they're all the same after that.
hopefully the garbage comes up and becomes one of those three, four guys. I chose Dallas Goddard. It was for me. It was between him or Cole Kmet, and I thought I'd be a little lazy and go with Goddard. Ertz is going to be gone more than likely. Goddard, his numbers were down last year, but I think that last year
That
people
offense was down.
the offense was down. There wasn't consistency. This year he'll have the time to work with Hurts. He's going to be the number one, and that's going to elevate him to that next level. Do I think he'll be up there with Kittle and Waller? No. Could he battle, the up and coming Hawkinson? Could he pop in there 4 or 5? Possibly. I don't think so because Hawk's going to get a lot. Hawk's going to be the target monster there, but he could be fighting with Andrews easily.
Oh, oh yeah. I mean, I think he could be in that 5, 6, 7 range. It all depends on if Hurts is a tight end guy. I mean, some quarterbacks just aren't tight end guys. I mean, that's just how it goes. So last year didn't get really a full sample size, but I'm a big Goddard fan. Watched him in college. Big guy. Guy's a humongous target out there. So if you take Ertz away, opens up that whole middle of the field for Goddard. Then you got the two speed guys on the outside with Smith and Rager. I think it opens up nicely for him. Like I said, it's just that offense has got to be better than it was last year. I mean, it
Yeah,
just can't be any
can't
worse.
be
Not the whole
worse.
time. So I'm gonna switch over to my tight end. It's a second year tight end. Glad you went with Goddard instead of Komet because I'm going to go that route. I'm going to take Adam Troutman for New Orleans. He didn't get a lot of run last year. I think he had 15 catches on 16 targets, so he catch the ball pretty well. Averaged 10 yards a carry or 10 yards of reception. They had I think Jared Cook was there last year, correct? So he was taking all that, but he's gonna be that number one tight end now with Jameis Winston coming in. I don't even know we know he likes to fling it all over the field. I'm sure Peyton will reel that in a little bit. Try to be more conservative. So if you're trying to get Jameis to be more conservative, let's look over the middle to get that big tight end. Who knows? I mean, could we get 60, 65 catches, maybe 6, 7 touchdowns? Maybe. I mean, they're going to throw a lot. I don't think they're going to be that dominant running game. So if
Mm-mm.
we can get 550 passes, Michael Thomas is eventually going to start wearing down. I'm not a huge Michael Thomas fan, and they don't have a lot of options. They got Kamara coming out of the backfield. Um, that number 2 wide receiver is still up in the air for somebody to take a hold of. So I mean, the opportunities there. To see if he can take it.
Yeah, I mean, he's an enigma. Well, who will be thrown to him? Like I told you, I hope it's our boy Jameis. If I've had $1 for everybody that talked to me this week, like, hey, what do you think Troutman's worth? What do you think? I don't know. I mean, you said you got those 15 catches. It's
Won
he's
16 targets. So
yeah.
he only
Oh
missed
yeah,
one
yeah.
ball.
And I looked it
So
up. It's
he can't catch.
11.4 yards per reception. So
Right? He's a deep threat guy. I mean, he's gonna find the middle of the field. He's gonna
yeah,
find it.
and he's a question mark. I got nothing
Oh yeah.
bad. I got nothing good. It's take that dart and he's a tight end.
I mean,
Crapshoot.
it's a tight end. You get 3 catches for 25 yards, and you're a top 12 tight end for the week. So,
The year, yeah.
so, that's our our top 4 there. Thought we'd do something different here and give each of us give our favorite fantasy player of all time. Who do you got for that, Dove?
So mine is a guy that it feels like a chalk pick, but it's more a sentimental reason than anything else. I started Dynasty. We figured out it was 2007. My second pick I ever made, because all of us were new to Dynasty, was this young kid out of Oklahoma. His name was Adrian Peterson. I picked him in the second round. I want to say I had like the 9th pick. Everybody looked at me like I had 3 eyeballs. They thought I was insane. They're like, dude, what are you doing? He is a rookie. You're drafting players. I was like, yeah, this is Dynasty. And he was pretty stinking good. He
Turned out to
served
be pretty good. I mean,
years. He
good
was
pick.
you end up trading him later on in his career, but he's a man among boys when it comes to the football field. I mean, size wise, probably most comparable really to how Jim Brown looked playing on the field with people. Adrian
Yes.
just clobbered people. He got me yards, touchdowns. Um, but I just enjoyed. I mean, it was a toss him, and then I was throwing Gates because Gates was a guy that he was with my original dynasty team until he retired. So he was the only guy to survive me. So how about your guy? And then we're gonna wrap things up here because our 15 minutes ended up being a lot longer.
Yeah, it usually does. So my guy kind of took a different route than AP did. So my guy, uh, Lamar Miller. He had that big year for Miami. I thought he was really going to be something special. I was all over this guy. So for the next 2 years, I proceeded to take Lamar Miller at the top of the draft every time, and he proceeded to let me down every time. Now, he wasn't terrible, but he wasn't worth that first round draft pick that I kept I kept giving him one. So like I say, definitely turned out different than AP, but you win some, you lose some. At least I'll have the memories forever of Lamar Miller.
I think
Yeah.
something, if people that are watching this, both of you that are watching this, are thinking tonight, learn one thing: you probably don't want to listen to us. We might not know what we're talking about, but we're gonna have fun doing it. Hopefully, you enjoyed. You want to close out there, JJ Wang?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it was a great time doing our first episode, and hopefully there's many more, get a lot more viewers, and I'll close it out as I always do. Even though it does hurt me this time to say this, being that Philadelphia just washed their way right out of the playoffs in basketball. But you got to be true to yourself and trust the process.